Half of the troubles of this life can be traced to saying yes too quickly and not saying no soon enough. Josh Billings. Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your concern and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and none of yours. When things feel overwhelming, remember, one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. From Teacher's Goals. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. In a closed society where everybody's guilty, the only crime is getting caught. In a world of thieves, the only final sin is stupidity. Hunter S. Thompson. There are two vices much darker and more serious than the rest: lack of persistence and lack of self-control. Marcus Aurelius. The problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. Bertrand Russell. The longer the explanation, the bigger the lie. The most important decision you will ever make is to be in a good mood. Voltaire. At some point in your childhood, you and your friends went out to play together for the last time, and nobody knew it. In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. Abraham Maslow. If you knew how quickly people forget the dead, you would stop living to impress people. Do not sabotage yourself by unwittingly adopting negative, unproductive attitudes through your association with others. Epictetus. Tired. I'm so tired of waiting, aren't you? For the world to become good and beautiful and kind. Let us take a knife and cut the world in two and see what worms are eating at the rind. Langston Hughes. Within you, there is a stillness and sanctuary to which you can retreat at any time and be yourself. Hermann Hesse. Deep sadness is most often mute and concealed. Dostoevsky. Poetry is just the evidence of life. If your life is burning well, poetry is just the ash. Leonard Cohen. Has it ever occurred to you that life is all memory, except for the one present moment that goes by you so quickly you hardly catch it going? Tennessee Williams. If you see someone falling behind, walk beside them. If you see someone being ignored, find a way to include them. Always remind people of their worth. One small act could mean the world to them. A post from Teacher's Goals. I write differently from what I speak. I speak differently from what I think. I think differently from the way I ought to think, and so it all proceeds into deepest darkness. Franz Kafka. Wearing a dead man's clothes. No directions. I don't know where to go. I found myself lost on a country road. I picked the wrong way. I didn't notice until the end of the day. I turned around, but by that time I couldn't see. I looked at the stars and moon as they ignored me. I walked blind like I was a mile under the sea. I had the strange feeling no one was watching me. I looked down at my body. A skeleton is what I see. It made me think, what's real isn't me. I decided to collapse along the road and be something to discover. I'm a pile of bones and my clothes will be my cover. Think for yourself, or others will think for you, without thinking of you. Henry David Thoreau. Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. Plato. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Machiavelli. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Mark Twain. Go wisely and slowly. Those who rush stumble and fall. William Shakespeare. When the heart gets too heavy with pain, people don't cry. They become silent. People hate when you show them how it feels to be treated the way they treat you. I am too insane to explain, and you are too normal to understand. Don't put me in a position where I have to show you how cold my heart can get. To achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. Leonard Bernstein. The highest purpose of art is to inspire. What else can you do? What else can you do for anyone but inspire them? Bob Dylan. I wanted real adventures to happen to myself, but real adventures, I reflected, do not happen to people who remain at home. They must be sought abroad. James Joyce. A lot of our explosive emotional reactions aren't actually a response to the present moment. They're a buildup of all the times we were in a similar dynamic and did not stand up for ourselves, use our voice, or express our emotions. Now I have neither happiness nor unhappiness. Everything passes. That is the one and only thing that I have thought resembled a truth in this society of human beings, where I have dwelled up till now as in a burning hell. Everything passes. Asomu. Real generosity toward the future lies in giving all to the present. Albert Camus. Your ego can become an obstacle to your work. If you start believing in your greatness, it is the death of your creativity. Marina Abramovich. Marina Abramovich. Abramovich. Marina Abramovich. You sensed that you should be following a different path, a more ambitious one. You felt that you were destined for other things, but you had no idea how to achieve them. And in your misery, you began to hate everything around you. Dostoevsky. Make sure you don't see yourself through the eyes of those who don't value you. Know your worth, even if they don't. Seema Davis. If you are creative, you need alone time much more than most. If you pretend you don't, it will eat you alive from the inside out. Solitude is oxygen for the obsessed. The magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding. Chris Williamson. I cannot make you understand. I cannot make anyone understand what is happening inside me. I cannot even explain it to myself. Franz Kafka. When we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. The world does not give us very much now. It often seems to consist of nothing but noise and fear, and yet grass and trees still grow. Hermann Hesse. 5 regrets of the dying. 1. I wish I had the courage to live a life. 2. I wish I hadn't worked so hard. 3. I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. 4. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. 5. I wish I had let myself be happier. Bronnie Ware. Though you might feel limited in your abilities, remember there are other areas of your life where you can excel. Keep your focus on your virtues. Marcus Aurelius. The other night, lying awake, I waited for some guilt or shame, but nothing ever came. A crowd of people forming a hallway. The path gets more narrow until the doorway to myself is blocked. I used to be a ghost in a past life. I would have a thought, and the thought would continue with no bearing in reality. The original idea would be diluted or subleased from another person's life. Whoever wants music instead of noise, joy instead of pleasure, soul instead of gold, creative work instead of business, passion instead of foolery, finds no home in this trivial world of ours. Hermann Hesse. To be silent the whole day long, see no newspaper, hear no radio, listen to no gossip, be thoroughly and completely lazy, thoroughly and completely indifferent to the fate of the world is the finest medicine a man can give himself. Henry Miller. Very little is required to destroy a person. One has only to convince him that the business he is engaged in is not necessary to anyone. Dostoevsky. But the thing is, even if I could go back, I wouldn't belong there anymore. Unknown. The best revenge is none. Heal, move on, and do not become like the person who hurt you. Daniel Shadadik. If you feel like you hate everyone, eat. If you feel like everyone hates you, sleep. If you feel like you hate yourself, shower. If you feel like everyone hates everyone, take a walk. Don't plant your bad days. They grow into weeks. The weeks grow into months. Before you know it, you got yourself a bad year. Take it from me. Choke those little bad days. Choke them down to nothing. Tom Waits. I found a gummy on the floor. I picked it up and stuck it in my mouth. I chewed it and bit into something hard in the center. My tooth broke. I felt a sharp pain and I tried to spit it out, but it was caught in my mouth. I reached in and tried to pull it out, but I punctured my hand. It was growing. It pulled my mouth open and expanded. The pain was intense. I looked in the mirror and saw a complex shape made of liquid metal, puncturing my mouth and skull and throat. It took over my head and ripped me open. It is difficult to find happiness within oneself, but it is impossible to find it anywhere else. Arthur Schopenhauer. The less I needed, the better I felt. Bukowski. Everything that needs to be said has already been said, but since no one was listening, everything must be said again. Andres Gide. I must go home periodically to renew my sense of horror. Carson McCullers. One thing that can delay your manifestations is if you don't honor the change you said you were going to make for it. The people you work with really do determine how much you enjoy your job. There is no pain in my life that has not been given value by the alchemy of creative attention. Melissa Phoebos. Acting on your anger makes everything worse than just feeling your anger. Marcus Aurelius. Arguing with people you will never meet, proving a point that doesn't matter, and even if it does, no one will think about it. It won't change one person's mind. In fact, it may make someone dislike you that didn't dislike you before. It's probably not even a real person. If you are a loser, just admit to it. Chances are, everyone already knows you are, so it shouldn't be embarrassing. I'm ruled by desire and humiliation. But I don't want comfort. I want God. I want poetry. I want real danger. I want freedom. I want goodness. I want sin. Aldous Huxley. Perhaps the worst will happen, perhaps not, but until then, look forward to better things. Seneca. Don't take yourself so seriously. Don't blame people. Create something. Never look back too long. Take action. A stillness where I become what I'm surrounded by. I remember as a child sitting outside, doing nothing, and I was content. I could stay out until the feeling passed and feel like I had traveled somewhere in another person's memories from a long time ago. Nothing happens, just stillness, and another place opens up. The daydream of the marble palace. The ego says, once everything falls into place, I'll feel peace. The spirit says, find your peace and then everything will fall into place. Marianne Williamson. Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. Henry Nouwen. Your father is the only man who wants to see you better than him. Don't ever forget that. I am the most tired woman in the world. I am tired when I get up. Life requires an effort which I cannot make. Aeneas Nin. How much of human life is lost in waiting? Ralph Waldo Emerson. Sit in your room and create, and eventually you'll be invited in new rooms. There's beauty in the work no one will ever see. Once your mind is gone, what else can you do? I see voices. I don't know which day is which, stumbling around at dusk, wishing night was just a wish. I figured out what yesterday was. I will figure that out tomorrow. I will keep figuring out what the day is, and forgetting and remembering again. The wind blows the leaves, and I am still. The back of my head smashed flat, blood dried black. I sit in my living room and think very simple thoughts, wrapped in a container of worry over my health. A doctor appears and talks me through my therapy. I repeat words he says, and my physical form changes by the time he leaves. My head is its original shape. I am back to normal. Sun is breaking through clouds, illuminating my living room. The price of anything is the amount of life you exchange for it. Henry David Thoreau. Healing also means taking an honest look at the role you play in your own suffering. In the middle of difficulty lies opportunity. Albert Einstein. One thing that can delay your manifestations is if you don't honor the change you said you were going to make for it. Your body is the first to know. Your mind is the last to accept. This is why your mind usually needs more time to accept the truth that your body already knows. Unknown. If everything around seems dark, look again. You may be the light. Rumi. Instead of saying I am sad, reframe it to sadness has temporarily appeared, or sadness is passing through me. Only the unsatisfied do things. The satisfied do nothing. Unsatisfaction is the stimulus to achievement. Satisfaction is destruction and leads down to the chamber of death. Jack London. And still, after all this time, the sun never says to the earth, you owe me. Look what happens with a love like that. It lights the whole sky. Hafiz. You look like a thief and a liar. Send me your wounds gone wrong. I'm cleaning off my garbage to possibly resell it. The amount of physical and emotional pain the body can hold is amazing. What does that pain look like when it's spread out all over the street? I feel like I used to be on a popular sitcom and I gave it my all, but no one knows me now, and they only want to hear about my downfall. At the end of my life, I'm not going to see any of the bad stuff that happened, only the wonderful moments that touch me deeply. I'm not who I've become. The universe and infinity has no time for that person. I will be who I am supposed to be, a loving being who experienced joy and kindness and love and received help when I needed it. I'm lucky to be alive, and my life isn't over yet. There's a big gaping wound at the height of all joy. On another planet in the future, large industrial buildings, making weapons or energy. The sky is red and the buildings are gray. I don't think the sun shines here. I remember being here and seeing this place, or places like this, when I was a child. I've fallen, and I can get up. There is a poisoned spear, stuck in the center of my confidence, like a punch in the stomach while I'm laughing. The eclipse. The light gets softer. The temperature drops by 20 degrees. The sun smiles and goes away. It's night. TV and movies confused me. I thought something was supposed to happen, and I got depressed when nothing did. My spirit is pure in this cold gray park. In the morning, the sun coming out, but I didn't ask it to. A few people appear here and there, contaminating my space. I want to be alone with the stillness through me, like an infinite channel I can only stay in with no interruptions. The blue-gray sky as the light starts to die. Things to tell yourself every day. I am the best. I can do anything. My future is bright. I'm getting better each day. I will work hard. No excuses. I was born to do great things. People's opinions don't affect me. Life is precious. I hate who steals my solitude without, in exchange, offering me true company. Friedrich Nietzsche. Reality cannot be ignored except at a price, and the longer the ignorance is persisted in, the higher and more terrible becomes the price that must be paid. Aldous Huxley. You did the best you could with what you knew at the time. Don't let new wisdom lead you to condemn yourself over old struggles. Forgive yourself and move forward. Morgan Oliver. An artist wears his work in a place of wounds. Patti Smith. People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. Frederick Alexander. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. Epictetus. Invisible forces, like I'm lying on the floor with a foot on my chest. Other people standing around waiting to do the same thing to me. An unfunny joke, and then a different unfunny joke, and then a non-joke, and then several more, and then I am the joke. And it is funny, but I can't laugh at my own humiliation, and then a few more unfunny jokes, and then I can't sleep, and I'm awake, and it's not funny. Nothing is funny anymore. The last few nights were foggy. I couldn't walk in the fog because I had other things to do. I imagined disappearing into the fog and reappearing under streetlights, floating on the water and drifting along on the movement of the mist. I would like to stay there all night and land on the sidewalk as the dawn burns off the mist and the spell fades. Traveling in a car at night, the whole universe inside me. The purpose of knowledge is action, not knowledge. Aristotle. If you're ever tempted to look for outside approval, realize that you have compromised your integrity. If you need a witness, be your own. Epictetus. Nothing is as dangerous as an ignorant friend. A wise enemy is to be preferred. Jean Fontaine. I'm made of glass, a coward in every way. The type of coward I despise in other people. How long would I last, homeless in the streets? My confidence is a paper tiger. I'm a crumbling coward when confronted. Idiot life, dumb life, embarrassed life. I have to find the lesson in this situation. The day the child realizes all adults are imperfect, she becomes an adolescent. The day she forgives them, she becomes an adult. And the day she forgives herself, she becomes wise. Alden Nolan. I can't stand it, to think my life is going so fast and I'm not really living it. Ernest Hemingway. As a child, I felt myself to be alone, and I am still, because I know things and must hint at things which others apparently know nothing of, and for the most part, do not want to know. Grow young. What people actually need is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for some goal worthy of him. Viktor Frankl. A guest in our home, creating tension and anger, such relief when they are gone. More dreams I don't remember. I know they played like a long movie in my head. Everything is in the past, except what you do or say to family. That's always in the present and the future. I'm obviously desperate to be loved. It feels gross when I stop to think about it. I would rather adjust my life to your absence than adjust my boundaries to accommodate your disrespect. Someone's dad. There's no reality except the one contained within us. That's why so many people live an unreal life. They take images outside of them for reality and never allow the world within them to assert itself. Hermann Hesse. If I don't get it out, it rots inside, like a tree that looks healthy but collapses under its own weight. I don't know where to go or what to do when I get there. My thoughts are blowing in the breeze. A rotting tree looks just like me from the inside out. I feel a hammer in my spine. When I whine, I don't put in the time. I don't want to die before I think everything I'm supposed to think. Locked in a hotel bathroom. I don't know how long I've been here. The gray of the walls has me in fear. I don't know if I'll be found. It's not quite clear. I can't remember how I got here. I can't scream my lungs out. I won't even try. I'd rather suffer quietly and lay down and cry. Don't lie about it. You made a mistake. Admit it and move on. Just don't do it again. Ever. Anthony Bourdain. Of all that is written, I love only what a man has written with his own blood. Nietzsche. I hope to arrive at my death, late, in love, and a little drunk. The universe always gives you exactly what you need to live a life aligned with the frequency of what you focus your attention on. It's essential to become clear on your heart's desire. Focus as much as your attention as possible on it and courageously allow whatever comes up to enter your life. You wouldn't have a desire or a dream unless it were within your power to make it real. I guess I'll keep doing what I'm doing until the heat from the world burning boils the eyes out of my skull. An angry child, not even understanding the source of my frustration and confusion. If I can see it, I can be it. It just takes commitment and work every day. Every generation imagines itself to be more intelligent than the one that went before it, and wiser than the one that comes after it. George Orwell. Sometimes I wonder whether the world is being run by smart people who are putting us on, or by imbeciles who really mean it. Mark Twain. I haven't smoked or had a drink since New Year's, and I have to say it hasn't been hard. I haven't wanted either. Sometimes in life, I've been given a door to walk through that leaves behind some negative part that doesn't serve me anymore. I think this is one of those doors. I am grateful each day for this freedom. I don't know where I fit in. I'm not sure I do. I don't think I can do anything else except for what I've created for myself. I'm not sure I can remember what I was thinking when I was alone for all those years. A small grim reaper sitting on a curb by the road, waiting, with his head in his hands. I drove past a club and saw people outside. I was immediately struck by how much time I had wasted, how much time I spent chasing things I would never get, longing for something that left me empty. The regret was so painful, I felt like I would crack open and pull out those diamonds of pressure I put on myself so long ago, those diamonds that are still with me. I would like to sit in a large glass sphere and write down my memories as the sun goes from dusk to dark. I can feel them, but I can't remember them. No matter how much success you have, you can still be a loser. When you realize all of the women that you are attracted to look just like the women on sitcoms you watched growing up. Once your mind is gone, what else can you do? I see voices. Dreams forgotten. At least I know I had them. There's a small fire in the way of the opened gate. I'm tired of crying about future regrets and things I'll miss. I need to live now. Everyone I'm with leaves a residue, and it stays with me. My body vibrating while in a sitting resting position. I'm not sure it will end. It's beautiful outside, not much light left in the day, but I have to go to sleep and dream that I stayed awake. One day, all of these people who never listened when I told them will never hear from me again. Spitting in the wind, a hard hello and a soft goodnight. Wet branches caressing my face, ignored by this ticking in my head, syncing up with the same sound while I was walking around when I was a kid, walking alone. How are our opinions formed for us when we watch TV and no one is there to tell us any different? The thunder and lightning wasn't frightening. I see it striking me and taking me up into the clouds. No one is coming to save you. This is harsh, beautiful, and the only motivation you need. The longer the walk, the better the thoughts. Sweat, sunlight, and silence will solve 99% of your problems. Zach Pogrop. It amazes me, all the things I don't understand. I felt the cold wind blow. The feeling was eternal. It felt like I remembered something that I never experienced, like a space high up between two cliffs where waves crash and no one was ever there. Before you rush in and save people, make sure you're not interrupting their karma. Over a small misunderstanding, God will expose how people really feel about you. Every great cause begins as a movement, becomes a business, and eventually degenerates into a racket. Eric Hoffer. Without forgiveness, life is governed by an endless cycle of resentment and retaliation. Roberto Asagili. Forgiveness is a strange thing. It can sometimes be easier to forgive our enemies than our friends. It can be hardest of all to forgive people we love. Fred Rogers. The smart way to keep people passive and obedient is to strictly limit the spectrum of acceptable opinion, but allow very lively debate within that spectrum. That gives people the sense that there's free thinking going on, while all the time the presuppositions of the system are being reinforced by the limits put on the range of the debate. Noam Chomsky. The wind always says yes. Dusk, the doorway between day and night. The camera moves behind bushes, revealing people who were not there before. The sound of birds covers up the slamming doors. There are terrible things happening all over, all the time. There is only one way to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Albert Einstein. Not a single one of the cells that compose you knows who you are or cares. James Randi. The place I work now will be a distant dream. I won't be able to remember how it felt working there. Just fog and a dream. These faded memories, printed on old paper, I find them in a cave in the desert when I started digging in the darkness and I had nowhere else to go. My thoughts are with you and your family during this difficult time. I hope you may find some peace in the difficult days ahead. My thoughts are with you and your family during this difficult time. I hope you may find some peace in the difficult days ahead. All of these thoughts and ideas and plans pulling me here and there, phantom parallel universes. Where I could be doing this, I should be doing that. It all melts away on a long walk, thinking of nothing. It all falls into place. It's hard for me to have an optimistic view. I don't want to look like a fool. I love you. I just don't think much of you. I robbed a corpse. I didn't desecrate it. If God did not exist, it would be necessary to invent him. Voltaire. We must develop and maintain the capacity to forgive. He who is devoid of the power to forgive is devoid of the power to love. Martin Luther King Jr. Empty places at 1 in the morning. Who am I going to talk to? All of a sudden, while sitting there, a spider starts picking over my body, looking for a home in my rotting flesh hanging off of my skeleton. This city is only good at night. I'm going to confess to crimes I did not commit. I don't have access to certain parts of my brain. They don't work. I don't know if they are sealed off or just rotting inside me. I hope I don't die running to some unimportant thing. The sidewalk opens up and I slide down a square tunnel of strobing light. I've got no time for the past, dragging it around like a dragon's ass. I'm a machine. People put in their code and I just do whatever they want. It's not a becoming, it's an undoing. I hate when people do a dance in their seat when they take a bite of food. My memories are blocked out, huge spaces of time when I remember nothing. Do I need to get revenge or rub it in someone's face to have the need for success? Benevolent silhouettes in the distance, in another dimension, getting so close, everyone seems familiar and helpful. I'm not on one path, I'm on several paths at once. The shadows in her closet where she never turns off the light. A shower, washing off the day, dead souls screaming as they disappear down the drain. A time to sit in silence, no violence to the soul. What I hold unfolds and engulfs and grows inside my skull. I see myself rotting on the deck of a sinking ship. I must bid farewell to that person who is no longer myself. Is this life? Tired all the time, working for a pile of sand to disappear between my fingers. I can't think. I don't know how to enjoy anything or anyone. This can't be it. You have your way, I have my way. As for the right way, the correct way, and the only way, it does not exist. Nietzsche. In order to love who you are, you cannot hate the experiences that shaped you. Unknown. I want to abandon everyone I know. I want to disappear and live off of nothing and see how long it takes my flesh and teeth to rot. It feels like my shirt has the fumes of a bad day on it. Treated piano on an afternoon with sunlight in the window. The street light outside my home is getting brighter each night. Every time I try to walk, it rains. People were created to be loved. Things were created to be used. The reason the world is in chaos is because things are being loved and people are being used. Terence McKenna. blowing the golden leaves high up in the trees. It felt like the beginning of the remembrance of an old memory. The silence, the closest I can get to stopping time. I didn't speak until I was 4. Now I don't want to speak anymore. What if, while I'm walking at work, I lift out of my body and float into the sky? A moth beating against the ceiling. The loneliness of working a job at night. We're all gonna die, not saying what we should say to the people we love. I'm down an abandoned road behind a closed factory, weeds growing from between the cracks in the sidewalk. I'm looking in my spam mail to see if anyone got in touch with me. A ribbon of my soul curls out of my forehead and floats up through the sky, into space. There are no more words. May you have dreams in your head and feathers at your feet. I dipped back into the world and realized I don't like it. Now I'm stuck here. I want it all to disappear and only the good stuff to remain. You should never be ashamed to admit you have been wrong. It only proves that you are wiser today than yesterday. Jonathan Swift. Will this rage grow a flower in the dirt? This shame and humiliation, does it make the wind blow in the trees? I'm not really here. I just repeat the hate and ignore the calls for love we make. I'm doing a great job. I'm doing everything right. Nico. I pause on a path and wait for stillness, but I have too much weight from the world to forget about. It won't let me go. The sun shines through me, and I realize I'm not here anymore. Walking through the woods with my family, I notice there is nothing more I could want. I give you everything I have, and in return, I want peace and quiet. I refuse to feel bad. Not today, thoughts. Come back when I am weaker. Come back when I am tired. Then I may argue with you. I feel the nature linger in my body. The oxygen comes out of my pores. The same shadows from the leaves on the side of the house. A part of me may live there one day. I have done nothing for weeks, and I don't mind. Open your eyes, look, see why it smells so bad. Nourish your discontent. Cultivate negative self-esteem. Elevate self-loathing to a spiritual practice. Proceed on the hypothesis that everything you are is a lie and everything you know is wrong and try to disprove it. Jed McKenna. I may not know everything, but I know energy. I know when it's genuine, I know when it's strange, and I know when it shifts. I was waiting for something extraordinary to happen, but as the years wasted on, nothing ever did, unless I caused it. Charles Bukowski. Perfect purity is possible if you turn your life into a line of poetry written with a splash of blood. Yukio Mushimi. Yukio Mishima. Yukio Mushima. It's way beyond ironic that a place called the Holy Land is the location of the fiercest, most deeply felt hatred in the world. George Carlin. One of the saddest lessons of history is this. If we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. Carl Sagan. Don't think about making art, just get it done. Let everyone else decide if it's good or bad, whether they love it or hate it. While they're deciding, make even more art. Andy Warhol. At the present time, I long to sleep. I am sick of humanity. Camus. Wisdom is knowing what to do next. Skill is knowing how to do it. Virtue is doing it. David Starr Jordan. Half of the troubles of this life can be traced to saying yes too quickly and not saying no soon enough. Josh Billings. Keep your attention focused entirely on what is truly your concern and be clear that what belongs to others is their business and none of yours. When things feel overwhelming, remember, one thought at a time, one task at a time, one day at a time. From Teacher's Goals. If you are not willing to learn, no one can help you. If you are determined to learn, no one can stop you. In a closed society where everybody's guilty, the only crime is getting caught. In a world of thieves, the only final sin is stupidity. Hunter S. Thompson. There are two vices much darker and more serious than the rest. lack of persistence, and lack of self-control. Marcus Aurelius. The problem with the world is that fools and fanatics are always so certain of themselves, and wiser people so full of doubts. Bertrand Russell. The longer the explanation, the bigger the lie. The most important decision you will ever make is to be in a good mood. Voltaire. At some point in your childhood, you and your friends went out to play together for the last time, and nobody knew it. In any given moment, we have two options: to step forward into growth or to step back into safety. Abraham Maslow. If you knew how quickly people forget the dead, you would stop living to impress people. Do not sabotage yourself by unwittingly adopting negative, unproductive attitudes through your association with others. Epictetus. Tired. I'm so tired of waiting, aren't you? For the world to become good and beautiful and kind. Let us take a knife and cut the world in two and see what worms are eating at the rind. Langston Hughes. Within you, there is a stillness and sanctuary to which you can retreat at any time and be yourself. Hermann Hesse. Deep sadness is most often mute and concealed. Dostoevsky. Poetry is just the evidence of life. If your life is burning well, poetry is just the ash. Leonard Cohen. Has it ever occurred to you that life is all memory, except for the one present moment that goes by you so quickly you hardly catch it going? Tennessee Williams. If you see someone falling behind, walk beside them. If you see someone being ignored, find a way to include them. Always remind people of their worth. One small act could mean the world to them. A post from Teacher's Goals. I write differently from what I speak. I speak differently from what I think. I think differently from the way I ought to think, and so it all proceeds into deepest darkness. Franz Kafka. Wearing a dead man's clothes. No directions. I don't know where to go. I found myself lost on a country road. I picked the wrong way. I didn't notice until the end of the day. I turned around, but by that time I couldn't see. I looked at the stars and moon as they ignored me. I walked blind like I was a mile under the sea. I had the strange feeling no one was watching me. I looked down at my body. A skeleton is what I see. It made me think what's real isn't me. I've decided to collapse along the road and be something to discover. I'm a pile of bones and my clothes will be my cover. Think for yourself, or others will think for you, without thinking of you. Henry David Thoreau. Wise men speak because they have something to say. Fools speak because they have to say something. Plato. It is better to act and repent than not to act and regret. Machiavelli. Kindness is the language which the deaf can hear and the blind can see. Mark Twain. Go wisely and slowly. Those who rush stumble and fall. William Shakespeare.